So I'm going to get this one. I always forget to bring my phone. Blessings, blessings. Not sure who it is just yet. Had two people and down to one. Somebody must have come on and signed and just went back. Blessings, blessings, blessings. Trust those of you who have already signed on. We trust that you had an awesome day. Our past 2 days were quite frustrating. My voice is slowly but surely coming back because surely I was almost at a whisper for like 2 days. It's for sure coming back. I needed to be back for this weekend. I really do. But these past 2 days have been very frustrating and emotional for me. My bestie had to remind me of whose I am so I could snap out of it. But sometimes you just get tired of always having to be okay with things that happen. Sometimes you just like whatever, and it's not a healthy place um, all the time. Most people, when they say whatever, they really feel like it's whatever and they good. I'm good, but I really had to like really talk to God and give him some of his word back because what I was feeling, it wasn't good or healthy for me, but it is where I was, and I have to be honest about that. And a lot of times, um, people feel like leaders don't have these type of days or don't have these type of emotions. Hey T, but we really do. Like just like the next person down the street, like our heart matters to somebody. Why not us? And so for these past 2 days, there's been some things going on, and you know, I don't like to blame everything on the enemy because sometimes it's a God ordained test. Hey Dom, it's a God ordained test, to find out if our faith is where we say it is, or if our love for Him is where we say it is. Hey Heidi, um, you know, we just have to remember who we are. We have to remember who and what we represent. And again, it doesn't um, take away the fact that I'm an apostle in the Lord's church. The fact of the matter is, before I was apostle, I was birthed as Juanita. And there are some days that Juanita's in front, and our emotions are affected by things that are going on in our life, and we get frustrated and angry. All emotions of which God blessed us with. So the Bible says, "Be angry and sin not." So it's not the fact of angry; it's what do you do when you're angry. And so for me, blessings, Apostle. The new year's here. It's almost that time. This is your sissy, Apostle Caswella. Um, and so, you know, um, people think that because we are apostles and bishops and elders, and for some ministries, the archbishop and all these other titles that they've started coming out with, those titles are just that, they're titles. It doesn't take away our human side. It doesn't, help us to just act like nothing's wrong or like nothing bothers me. For years, I thought that was how I had to be. We just, as leaders, the way I grew up, leaders weren't allowed to show their feelings. They weren't allowed this transparency that we who have come along now don't mind sharing. I'm a transparent person. It is what it is. Either I did it or I didn't. Either I said it or I didn't. And I'm honest about where I am so that God can bless me accordingly. A lot of us fail to realize that we can't get the help we need until we admit where we are. And for some of us, it's easier than others. And so last week, when Apostle was talking about living a normal life while dealing with the trauma of grief, there were a lot of things that were said by those of you who came on, and we thank you for your participation and your transparency with us. And as we were talking about what we would say tonight, I'm telling you, this thought that I have posted now just came to me a few minutes ago. But I do want to continue on in the way of apostles dealing with grief and living a normal life. And we as leaders, we don't get to show it, like everybody else does. And I'll constantly continue to use losing my mom. We're losing our moms within the last 2 years. For me, when I lost my mom, I didn't get a chance to be daughter. I had to be the apostle. I had to be, the program committee. I had to be the food committee. I had to find the location, and I had to, try to do everything to honor, my mother's wishes. And I had to be there for my sister, and I had to be there for my grands, and I had to be there for my great grands. So I never got a chance to just be her daughter, and it wasn't until that first Mother's Day that I was just knocked. I was a mess. I was boohooing. I was wailing. It was just, that was when it sunk in that she was just not here. And that was because I went to call her. But, when I posted this just now, like I thought I was healed, until there are a lot of people who really think that they are healed and believe that they are healed. And for the most part, it's usually because nothing has happened recently that would trigger that thing. Like it's been out of sight, out of mind. And then boom, like one day you see this individual, or you find yourself back into a similar situation, and you're like, oh my God, I really thought I was over that. Like I really didn't expect it to take me this way. I really didn't think I would react this way. This like came out of nowhere. I really thought I was healed until this happened. Whatever your this is. I really thought I was healed until this thing happened. And I find myself, I don't know why people have a problem with my transparency. It's not going anywhere. I'm just who I am. Blessings, Apostle Parsons. I see you on the other page. There are so many things that trigger us, and if we're not um, honest about those triggers, there's no way that we can fully be healed, delivered, set free, made whole, whichever word you want to take, whichever phrase you want to take. You're not going to see any freedom until you are able to acknowledge the hurt and the pain that goes along with what you thought you were healed from. Um, for me, um, outside of my mom, like when I go back over different things that have devastated me, um, when I asked God to heal me, when I was really ready, and I asked God to heal me, when I say really ready, like, okay, you might say, Lord, I need you to heal me. That's what you're saying with your mouth. But your mind and your heart are not in agreement. They're not with one accord. Part of you wants to be free, and part of you is just stuck in whatever it was that hurt you. And so I didn't realize that in asking God to heal me, that it would bring along so many other feelings or emotions. I didn't realize when I asked God to heal me that that would mean rage and abandonment issues and all of the hurts and low self-esteem, like all of those things that flooded me, feeling, seemingly all at once. And when I went to God about it and like, what is this? Like, why, how am I feeling this? And, how is this a part of healing? And he let me know, that at this time, these things that are flooding you, it is because you never got a chance to deal with that particular emotion when it happened. Because everybody's saying, pray about it. Jesus will fix it. Or you're going to be okay, because they just so used to you being that strong person. But that those things that come out at you, and that's some real stuff. And um, I had to realize that I couldn't tackle all of them at once. I had to pick which one I wanted to deal with first, because, you know, um, having been raped and having been abused verbally, emotionally, physically, um, in different areas at different times of my life, because of the beliefs that my mom had, it was like, we just gonna pray about it, even with me taking my mom in front of some of the ones that did it, and because they were the adult or the parent, they were believed. Back then, it was like if the adult said it, that was it. If the child said something that went against it, we got penalized. And so don't worry, y'all. If y'all wonder who I'm looking at, my bestie's right here. I'm just waiting for her to finish doing what she's doing. But now when you are of age and you're able to really deal with or confront the things that have happened so that you can be the best you can be. Nobody like warned me that everything was just going to come as one open floodgate. And so I had all of that anger and that rage of having this happen to me. Nobody believing me. Everybody rather think that I was acting out rather than investigate what had me, doing these things, because it wasn't something that I used to do. Somebody who noticed the difference, but instead of really digging deep to see what it was just easier to say they're acting out or they're being rebellious. And so when it came time for healing, I had all of those things, anger and rage and betrayal and abandonment, and just terrible low self-esteem because of what had happened to me. And then the guilt, why, why did I hold on so long before I said something? Or how did I not find the strength to move away from what it was? And so with all of those things that come to you all at once, it's kind of hard um, being a leader and being true about where you are. If a leader now says, I'm having low self-esteem issues, or if a leader says, I'm really hurt by this, or a leader says, I just don't feel like being bothered today. Anything that we say concerning our true feelings is judged. It's like, well, you're a leader, so how could you be there? And it's like they forget that we're human. All they see, well, when it's beneficial to them, all they see is our title. They don't see the human aspect. And even some of those who may not be an apostle, but you might be a minister, you might be an evangelist, and you find yourself saying, oh, well, that's easier said than done, not giving room to the place that we've been there and done that. And these things are really real. This is what with these emotions that we feel. And I really thought I was healed until I saw that person, and whoever that person was, the violator has no respective, you know, gender, male, female, whoever the violator was, because they weren't in your life or because they weren't in the picture, because you moved away from the situation and time went on, you just thought you was healed because it wasn't bothering you as much. And then what happened was you went somewhere and there it was, or you happened to be invited somewhere and there it was. Um, and we really thought that healing had taken place until we had to look at it again, until we had to experience it again, through somebody else. Because a lot of times when we don't deal with our triggers, you know, we tend to go through these same things over and over. This cycle just continues to repeat itself. And like our overseer Armin says, what's the sense in going through the process if you're not going to, why repeat it if you're not going to change anything? If going through it didn't benefit you or show you anywhere where you improve, why would you continue the same exact circle? Why would you not try to change something to make it better so that it doesn't remain the same? But again, we as leaders, we have to be there for you all. We have to be able to let you know that it's going to be all right. We have to be able to let that it's not going to be this way always. But who do we talk to that allows us to be who we are and still respect us for who we are?
Each other.
This people wonder why we have remained in this bestie friendship for over 14 years. It is because we are real about where we are. It is because we're able to say, right, sir, when the cycle becomes the circle.
Wow.
We have lasted over 14 years because if something is wrong, we address it. If something happens, we're there for one another. We encourage one another. We don't allow each other to stay in the dumps. We're not living in Lodabar. We're gonna come up out of that thing. I'm gonna give you your moment, but we're not gonna make it a mountain. There were different things. No, we didn't agree all the time, but because we were able to hear, not just listen, but hear one another, this is how 14 and some odd years later, we're able to still say that we're even closer than we were before. And it is because of what we've gone through. It's because of, yes, that's what that is. And so, again, I thought I was healed until, my friend said such and such a thing. And it's not just actions that trigger, it's words sometimes. Being in say you could be in a social setting and a conversation could be going on and somebody can mention a phrase or somebody could say, something that happened. And because you're not healed from it, it's a trigger. It's a trigger and it causes you to withdraw. It causes you to sometimes leave that setting, still not being healed because you're running from the fact that you're not healed. What happens when you stop running from what hurt you? What happens when you stop running from what hurt you? Because you can't be healed until you do so. As Apostle Wyatt taught us, even when she was talking about the 7 emotions, the one thing that is consistent in everything is that you have to first acknowledge that it is. If you're hurting and you keep on trying to act like it didn't bother you, you never receive the healing that God has waiting for you because you won't admit that it hurt. You feel like that's going to make you weak. If you say this hurt me or that, or somebody, going to think less of you, when if that's your only healing, by confronting a thing, by saying, hey, this is how I feel right now. And say to the person, or speak in that atmosphere and say, hey, that bothered me, or I'm sure it wasn't intentional, or hey, I really don't like that. Like, I need you to change that. That's not something I can handle you doing in my presence. But you have to first make it known that there's an issue. And if you don't do that, how do you get healed? We have to first acknowledge. We have to acknowledge. And then second, confront. We have to first acknowledge. And then second, confront. So I can't fix what I did to you if you never tell me it happened. Not everything that has been done to you was done intentionally. Somebody probably just, had no clue that what they said or how they was like
So what
offended
happens when
you.
you tell a person and they don't try to change it? Or what happens when they do it to be spiteful because they know that it's going to hurt you or get to you, or try to be vindictive? Like,
Well, hey Daniela, hey cousin Adrian. In that situation, say that again.
how do you respond to a person that you know they're doing stuff vindictively? Like, they're doing things to hurt you on purpose because they know what buttons to push, or they know how to come at you and get you. How do you handle that situation? Because that's what somebody asked me tonight, and I'm like,
well, if we want to start biblically, the Bible says, be angry and sin not. So you have a right to be angry about what is going on. It's what you do while you're angry that matters the most. And the Bible does tell us, vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. A lot of times we just can't wait. God's going to vindicate us. There's a time when we're going to all be able to deal with those who have said wrong, or because the Bible says, no weapon formed against me shall prosper. And every tongue that rises up against me in judgment, I, not him, I will be able to condemn. So there's going to be a time when I'm going to be able to deal with those who spoke ill or said wrong. It's the waiting, I don't want to have to wait until I get raptured up and to come back to then deal with them. I want to say something to them right now. And, God is that checkmate. He won't let you do it. And people, look at you and you feel punked because in your mind, you already know what you felt like doing. As you're walking away, you already saying, I should have said, ooh, I should have, but at the same time, blessings. At the same time, we've got to be wise in anything that we do. So if you know somebody's doing something to be vindictive or malicious, for my sake, I would say love them. You know why? Because that, can I say this word on, pisses them off when you love them in spite of what they're doing. Like, no matter what they do, you still respond in love. You know, the Bible says a kind word turneth away wrath, right? And so we have to be mindful of how we respond. Some people are reactional and some people are responsive. I'm not a reactional. I'm not that person who reacts. Who, as soon as you do something, I'm just responding from the gut. No, I'm gonna process that thing. Because whatever I do next, I'm not apologizing for. I will apologize to anybody if what I said or did hurt you, but what I said I meant. People lie and say, well, I didn't mean to say that to you because I was angry, and you're a liar. You're a liar. Because can nothing come out that wasn't in? You just never had the right opportunity before now to say what you wanted to say. And so I think before I speak. And so when I have to come back and apologize to you, because I have no problem doing that, I will apologize if what I said hurt you, but I'm not taking back what I said because I meant it. And so with that being said, everybody is not that way. So when you see people going out their way to try to make your life miserable or to try to make you feel unwanted or to make you feel, in some cases, undeserving for things that are happening, you have to ask God to teach you how to war. We asked God to teach us how to war with our hands. And most people respond this way. But you can still war with your hands in intercession and travailing, and going before God concerning things, because what you're going to have to do if you want to get through anything is ask God to give you the grace to get through it. Because if you ask him to remove you from it, you're going to have to go through it again at some point in time, because it is a test and a lesson. It's a test and a lesson. There's something to learn from everything that we go through. We just have to ask God, what is it? What is the lesson that we need to learn? And you've heard me say that a lot recently, like, God, come on now. With all of this that's going on around us, tell me the lesson. Tell me so I can just get through this right here, because I don't want to repeat it. Tell me the lesson I am to learn so that I can learn it, so I can grab hold to it, so I can fix what might be wrong, because I don't want to find myself here again. And so when people are going out their way to make life miserable for you, trust God is getting ready to vindicate. Trust. That's the main thing you got to do, is trust the one you say you love. Trust the one you say you serve. Because he sees and he knows all. And he even knew that was going to happen before it happened. So apparently he built you to last. He built you because he knew what he gave you, he didn't give me. What he gave me, he didn't give the next person. But he gave all of us the strength to bear our own crosses. And so, there's always going to be people around you that say, girl, if I was you, no, you wouldn't have. Because if you were me, you would be doing the same thing I'm doing. Why? Because you would be me. So there's no way you could say, if I was you, I would. No, because if you was me, you would do what I'm doing, because you just put yourself in the place of me. So when people are going out their way, and I had to learn how to be like this. It didn't just happen. I had to learn how to not react, but respond. It took time. It took prayer. It took trial and error, because I did not always pass the test. And so now I try to help others so that they don't have to endure it as long as I did, because I went through too many years beating myself up for things that people did. And then
I think being delivered from people is one of the greatest gifts anyone could ever have, because as long as people can control you, they do things just to push those buttons, or they do things just to aggravate you. But I think once you get delivered from people, we don't have those same issues that we have.
Okay. So
how do you get delivered from people? It took a lot of years for me to get delivered from people. It comes with time. It doesn't happen overnight, because your mind is like, oh, what this one gonna think, or what that one gonna say,
exactly.
Or how is that one gonna respond, or how is that one gonna react, especially if you hold them close to your heart. So I had to start praying, Lord, give me the heart not to be so focused on what people say, if that makes sense, because to me that's a form of control, manipulation.
And you're giving people more power than they deserve. You're giving people more power than they deserve. And so for me, with this that we have highlighted here, I thought I was healed until, it wasn't until I went and sought help that I realized I wasn't healed to the extent that I thought I was. I thought I had gotten over it. I thought, hey, I done forgave this person. And for real, I did. Like, I forgave this person. I could be in the same room with them in worship without problem. I could be in the same room with them, tell them I love you and mean it. But it wasn't until I went and sought help because of other things that were going on that I realized it wasn't that I was fully healed. I just chose to live. And there's a difference in the two, in being healed and choosing to live, because something has to happen first, you know. And so I was healed until I started talking about the actual act. I was healed until talking about it forced me to realize who really was for me and who wasn't. Because that's a devastating thing, to feel like you got somebody in your corner and find out they're the reason why, or they're part of what happened to you. And so this walk that we're on, this journey that we're on, for some reason, again, I'll say, people think that leaders don't have feelings. They feel like we don't hurt like they do, or we don't have to grieve, or we don't need that time for mourning. We just bounce back. And it's just not true. And there are many leaders who have died early deaths because worrying about people's opinion, um, feeling like they're alone, um, being um, being I would say exposed, um, and so it's just. I'm sorry, y'all. My cat acting retarded. So we have to. Hey, there go nephew. Hey, Tori. There go our nephew right there. Rodney Randall.
Hey, son.
That's my nephew. That's your son. Okay.
That's my son.
But, having been in ministry for as many years as I have, it took some time for me to be delivered from tradition versus Bible. A lot of things that we thought were Bible was really tradition. It was passed down. This is what was said to them. This is what, because they didn't have the resources that we have now. So whatever was taught to them is what helped them survive. And so that is what they brought on to us. And then to find out, hey, that's just a cliche, or that's just that's not in the Bible, or that's not what that meant. But a lot of us have suffered longer than we should because we were not allowed to be truthful about where we were. Nephew said, I thought I was healed until that time of the year came around again. For real, Ma, you on the wrong page. That's a real thing. Somebody said to me years ago now, thank God. How do you just get up there and preach, or how do you get up there and let somebody preach to you and they're talking about you? That comes with growth and maturity. Because Jesus didn't say to what the boy name? Who betrayed? Judas. Jesus didn't let Judas know that, oh, well, I know you getting ready to set me. He just said, go ahead and do what you got to do, because there's something I got to do. What's wrong with you?
I'm sorry. I'll let you see the message.
And so, when you find out, when you put truth next to the things that you've experienced, there's a way that you can go about getting healing. And for the love of God, if you're not really receiving the healing that you desire from spiritual aspect, meaning your pastor or one of the elders of the church or whatever, go get some extra help. Go get some extra help. I will tell you that for years, I thought that going to see a therapist meant you were crazy. I didn't realize that it was just the opposite. Going to a therapist helps you not go crazy, because you get to talk about it and say exactly what you feel without having to walk on eggshells, without having to worry what this one is going to think of me or what this one is going to say about me once they find out my truth. But it is just the best thing. And I just strongly, encourage those who need help to go get it. It's not to say I'm not telling you to supersede your leader. That's not what I'm saying. Because that nobody.
Oh.
I'm trying to make sure everybody understand where I am. What I'm saying is you go to your leader first, or whoever the assigned person is. Because when we were growing up, we didn't have this kind of access to our leader. We had to make an appointment, and that appointment might be a month from today, but that's the appointment that they have available. Or they'll tell somebody else in ministry, they'll give you to them to help walk you through as a part of their training. And so it wasn't until like, well, this is the way God gave me ministry, and so I'm more tangible, but I just know that God would not, since he said, I've given you pastors after my own heart, since he gave that to you and you joined this church, which means you agree to abide by all the rules and regulations of that church, which means I don't have to like it, but because I'm joining and put my name on the roll, I'm agreeing to do whatever it is I'm told to do, whether I like it or not. Exactly. That is the reason why you joined, because you wanted to be a part of this. And being a part of this means you abide by all the rules and regulations of the ministry. And so you go to that leader first and you talk to your leader and you let them know. Now, let me tell you something. Don't, make your leaders feel bad when they don't have the answer you're looking for. Right. There are some leaders that have been there and done that, but leaders from back in the day, y'all, come on, they ain't go through all of this. They didn't have the ability to talk about it. They didn't have what we have now. And so some of them have never been in a bar. Some of them have never drank. Some of them have never smoked, me, for two of them. So at first I couldn't tell you because I had never experienced it. I did try to smoke. I tried, choked me so bad I never touched another thing. And I'm afraid of needles, so I never did anything that required that. My sister did take me out for my 18th birthday, and I tried drinking, and that didn't work. Got sick as a dog, so I stayed away from those things. And so there are people who stop laughing at me, Mom. There are people who have been in the church and really have never been to a club, never been, outside of the church, and so you trying to get them to relate.
You trying to smoke.
We can't relate all the time, and then we as leaders, we have to be strong enough in our office that God has placed us in to know that it's okay to say, you know what, I don't know how to answer that. So let me send you to maybe the pastor down the street. But I'm not worrying about the pastor down the street taking you because you don't belong to me, but this is the church that you belong to. And so I'm trusting that you will go and get the information you need, but still return home. We go to school every day, but we come back home. Yeah. So why can't we do the same in the church? We can go seek help, but bring it back home, because now we need to be a part of the healing for somebody else, and a lot of people don't believe in talking to the leader first. And I just don't understand that concept. I guess because
Lesson, Pastor Watson.
Where you see Pastor Watson?
On your other page.
Oh, hey, Overseer Eugenia.
Oh, Overseer, sorry. Hi, Overseer, sorry.
And so, we didn't all have that. For me, I've been told I'm too transparent. I don't know how that could be, but I just want to be transparent enough that those who are around me, not necessarily have to be a member of our church, but you might, be calling on me because somebody referred you to me to talk to the council or whatever. Whatever comes to me stays with me, and we pray to God about it. But not everybody is confident in where they are to allow I'm telling you, I never seen so much jealousy and envy amongst leadership, but this is not what this is about. But I'm just saying, I don't mind sending you to the leader down the street because I know once you finish, you're going to come back to where I am, and you're going to let me know how it helped you, and we're going to move on about our happy business until the next thing comes around. But then you do have those who try to undermine leadership, you know, and I'm not talking about the laity, try to undermine leadership and try to draw you by making it look greener on the other side, which is something that's going on a lot these days. It looks greener on the other side until you get there and find out what it's taking to stay on the green side. There's a lot of sacrifice. There's a lot of hurt that comes. People who just feel like they're going to be a part of Jesus and suffer no pain. I'm sorry to inform you, I don't know anybody who can. To suffer with him says to reign with him. Isn't that what it said?
Yeah.
You got to reign with him, you got to suffer. And so therefore, we have to be willing. We just run from so much. Church is the only place we expect easy answers. We do what we got to do to make a promotion on our job. We do what we got to do to get items that we need. But when it comes to the things of God, even on this past weekend, when it your brother on here. Let me go. Let me tell you something. Let's look at Tanasia's message. I've smoked and drank before. It's not fun. I was choking. Girl, only took one time. But not other people. I don't want nobody else members. Send me some sinners. Yes, sir. I say to the church all the time, if you're getting tired of what you're doing, if you're getting tired of the weight that goes along with you being here, then go get somebody else. Sheep beget sheep. Go get somebody else so that the load can be lightened. Go get somebody else. Bring them in. Don't bring me somebody from nobody else's church. Bring me somebody who's no longer going to church right now. Maybe because they've been hurt, or maybe because that wasn't a part of their lifestyle. Why is she biting them on the neck, trying to keep her still?
To make them humble, to make them submit to her. Yeah, she crazy.
And so you gotta be ready. I want some unchurched people because they're not programmed. They don't. This is something. Well, this ain't how we did it at our other church. And I have to remind people, and I have. There's a reason why you're at this church right now, because you left that church. So don't come over here and telling me, well, that ain't how. Because you left so you wasn't that happy. You left and you over here. So what we're gonna do is deal with what's over here. And if you can't handle that, I'm sure the next ministry, will take you, because if you come and say this is where God sent you, then learn to listen, learn to obey, learn to submit. Because when I put you over an auxiliary, you're going to expect people to submit to you. And so this is how I get all the way over there. But yeah, so that's what we want to. Lord, my testimony is a little different. Yes, because my daughter, no, you couldn't tell her nothing. She had to find out for herself, And so, but in her doing that, she has so much more knowledge now, looking back on her younger self and now where she is now. You're able to say, hey, you really don't have to do like that. You really don't have to stay there. There really is room for you on this side. Nothing you're doing is that terrible that you can't come to God. That's the one he wants, and so we all go, but she was definitely, my firstborn was the one that had to try everything for herself. And so each of my children have their own personalities and they deal with things differently. And they're able to come back and say, hey, I really thought I was healed from that, Mom. Like, for real. Like, ooh, I thought I was over that. But let me tell you what just happened. That's a real thing. That's a real situation, And my only problem is, as we are there for others and laity, why can't leaders have that same moment? Like, we already got to be strong enough in front of you. Like, why do you not give us room for that moment? You could be there with me, as you can be my armor bearer. You can be one of the elders of the church, and you right there and you witness something devastating happen to me. And in that same breath, not the next one, in that same breath, you're trying to figure out why I don't just get back up. But when it was you were crying. You just needed to be up under us every day. And when you wasn't up under us, you might as well have been, because you called while you wasn't with us. And we spent all of this time trying to make sure that you receive the proper nourishment and healing, and nobody's willing to give it back. Yes, we are held at a different level, but it doesn't change the fact that we bleed, we hurt, and we live just like everybody else. And so if it can hurt you, it can hurt me. And what hurts more is being there for somebody who forgot that we were there. Yes, Lord, mommy, calm down. I'm just saying, since you said your testimony was a little different, I want people to know. And they really, she's like, mommy, calm down. My children, they were just like it. Because from the time I started preaching until now, I still use my children as examples. Because why? They're my children, and I can do that. And I've been there for it. And I'm here to honestly say that there's a way out of it. My children don't always like it, but they understand. And, being a PK is a lot. There's a lot of damage done to PKs. And they probably would have that testimony more than anyone. I was healed until, but for us as
I think a lot of pressure are on PK kids, because we expect them to do certain things and different than normal kids that's not PK kids. And I come to realize throughout the years that they are human just like the next person. Just because they're a PK kid doesn't mean that they don't have their own life. They make mistakes just like the next one. And I got so tired of hearing, oh, you a pastor's child. Okay, they are a pastor's child, but they mess up just like you. They bleed just like you, just like we say about leaders. Leaders bleed.
Think of my other daughter. Yeah.
Leaders bleed just like the person that's not a leader. So we all bleed the same blood. So it doesn't matter because I'm a PK kid. That thing used to burn me up. Oh, we got to hide because they the PK kids. And if they see the PK kids doing this, it's going to make you look bad. But they have their own life. That thing used to
It's not going to change the opinion. People used to always hit me up when one of my sons would come on and just be going off on Facebook, or he'll be showing what he does in his social time. On Facebook, and everybody, instead of saying something to him, and instead of calling me or messaging me to try to encourage me, they all reach out to my bestie. You went past the person themselves, their mother and leader, to somebody else to say, oh, well, that don't look good, and she should, I use the words shut up a lot, and so I'm trying to be nice, but
they call me
because the Bible says, train up a child in the way they should go, and when they're old, they will not depart from it. Now, after age 18, you on your own. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to keep on, and I used to do it. I used to jump on my kids' Facebook post in a minute saying, take this down. Don't do, all that kind of stuff. And realizing that, yes, while they are PKs, they are PKs who are actually grown. And if you really have an issue with them, they on the same Facebook you on, because you just told us about it. So that means that you had the ability to reach out to them and say, hey, you know what? I know it's your page, but, maybe you should take that down. Right. Because, one of my children is more outspoken than others when it comes to these kinds of issues. And, people are, oh, wow, what kind of pastor is that? Or what kind of mother is that? The mother that I am, the leader that I am. Yeah. I trained them up, and now they're responsible for their own life. You on social media telling all your business, but you got time to stop for mine. I miss me with it. That's the attitude that I took, not taking away your opinion, but just letting you know that they're all grown and they are on Facebook, because you saw it. So that means both of y'all are on Facebook. Inbox them and say, hey, how we get all the way over here? But anyway, going back to where we were, I thought I was healed until, but I just for PKs that's been an issue for me for a long time, and you know that. And then I tried to do a PK conference, and I told somebody about it, and instead of them helping me, they did it themselves. So I just never went back and picked it up because I was offended, by that. But PKs are normal children. They just happen to be the pastor's children. That they live life every day. They see things happen every day in life that you see. They see the moon change, they see the stars, they see everything. They also see opportunities. There are people that offer them things. There are things that they experience in life, that they excuse me, they do it because it's offered and they want to be accepted, or they want to prove that they're not, you know, uncool. I don't know the right word, but they have blood inside them that comes outside their arms, just like yours, and they have their own embarrassments and they have their own moments, and they all deal with them differently. Each of my kids I've dealt with differently because they have their own personalities, and you have to know them and be able to love them from where they are. All right. So getting back to, I thought I was healed until, like I said, for me, I thought I was healed from a one particular thing until I went to therapy, and I found out I'm not. Well, I wasn't. I am now. Thank God I'm free. Um, and so being able to look at all of the things that make you feel less than, make you feel guilty, um, make you feel dropped. Being able to talk through those things means everything. I'm telling you. Um, we also come second, though we are first family. And you know what? I ain't even gonna go there with you tonight. Why? Because I'm telling you, we talked about that. He said, talking about PKs. Yes. He said, and we also come second, though, although we the first family. And see, a lot of people lately been talking about the fact that we celebrate. How come we only celebrate first family? How come we only have services for the first family? Because they're the first family. But you don't see at the White House them celebrating Kamala Harris just because they celebrate Biden. You just don't see it. you know. But to them, to the people's eye, the first family is first. But let's tell the truth. Technically, they're not, because they have to share their family member who happens to be the leader with the entire church. Mm-hmm. So they feel like they're in second place because if the church call, I'm running. Mm-hmm. So, the people got a lot to say about nothing. But they really do. And so, I can't spend quality time, on somebody who doesn't want to understand what's happening. And it took time for me to be there because I used to always try to, I got to make them understand. If they didn't do that, I need to go back and try again. And I had to find out, through my health, that it wasn't healthy.
Yes.
For me to continue to do things that way. And so, yeah. That's gonna be a whole nother live. PKs. It's gonna be a whole nother live. We need to bring somebody that don't mind being transparent, don't feel like because they've grown up that they've arrived, because I still don't feel like I've arrived. There's so many things that I yet have to learn. There's so many. I'm an ever learning student. I'm never tired of learning, and it doesn't have to come from somebody older than me. Children teach us things too. But we got on here. Yes, go ahead. Could you give me say something?
No, I was just thinking about the PK kids. Y'all that's on here, if we could just.
What you want to know?
I was gonna say, was there any leaders on here? Y'all just keep
leaders.
Ayana in your prayer. I just got a text message from her, so I'm gonna go and take this call from her doctor. So I'm gonna go and call her back. But Y'all pray for her.
Which one?
We're gonna go downstairs. A lupus.
I told you. What keys? Oh, they were in your pocketbook. Relax. See, they were right there. So we're gonna have a another live where we deal with the PKs, because the PKs have gone through so much. And for those of you who are on here who are leaders, we're going to ask that you just call out Prophetess Ayana's name in your time of prayer. A young lady going through a great deal, a lot more than she should have to at this particular age, health wise. So if you would just remember her throughout the night as we consider what's going on in her life, just mention her name in prayer, Prophetess Ayana. We believe in God for a complete turnaround, but just remember her in your prayers. So when we say I was healed until, they don't allow you, well, they didn't allow us in our days of coming up to really voice our opinion about a lot, because if it didn't go along with what was being said, we were considered rebellious, and we were punished a lot of times, mostly by our parents. But back in that day, everybody was your parent. So if the usher said something and told you this is what needs to happen, you got what the usher said, then you're still going to get home and have to deal with what mommy said. And so, therefore, there wasn't a lot that was spoken because we felt like it wasn't going to matter, and so why say something? And so we are at a time now where this generation is totally outspoken, totally outspoken. And, they just going to say what they want to say. That was quick.
I'm just going to hold it through the moment. There's not really much I can do. Just have to hold it through the moment.
So, when we get to this place of I was healed, I thought I was healed until, another situation might come up, but with a different person. And even though it's with a different person, there's a trigger there that happens if you are not healed, and made whole, not just healed, but made whole. And that was the part that I had to get to. I have to first become healed and then be made whole. So I could talk about the thing that happened and still be okay. I could talk about the thing that happened and I wasn't breaking down crying anymore. I could be in the room with the violator and it not hinder my worship or make me feel like I need to go home, when I really needed to be in that service. And so it's different for everybody. It's different for everybody. But, just to know that, it was possible, bless me, a whole lot. So I want to encourage you, we want to encourage you to allow yourself to not only be healed, but allow yourself to be made whole. Understand that forgiving someone doesn't necessarily, first of all, it's not for them, it's for you. Forgiveness is not for them, it's for you. By you giving forgiveness to anybody, it frees you. It releases you from a thing. So the forgiveness is for you. But a lot of people misunderstand forgiving because they think that once you forgive somebody, that people are expecting you to just let that person right back into the space they were in. That's not so. That's not what the word requires of you. The word requires that you forgive them 70 times 7. Yes, it does. The word requires you to love your neighbor as you love yourself. That's word several times in the book. But you don't have to like I say, you might have sat at my dinner table a lot and got to know my family and my friends. But guess what? That happened. I forgive you. I love you. We can go to the mall, but you ain't gonna never have dinner at my house again. You won't be in that. You won't have that opportunity to be in that same place again. But I do forgive you and I do love you without any, there's no hesitation. I can see you tell you I love you and mean it with everything in me. But understand, I also mean with everything in me that we can go to the mall, but we're not gonna be having dinner. We're not gonna sup together. We're not gonna do that. We can go and shop and we could just go hang out, even at an amusement park. But what we're not gonna do, is get intimate, bring you into the walls where my family and my friends are and those who are closest to me. So, Sandra Dow sent me a friend request. And so, forgiveness is not an option. It's a must. If you plan to go where the Father is, it's a must. And if you can't find it in you, hell will be your home. There's no easy way to say that you can't forgive, you're not going to heaven. You don't love your neighbor as yourself, you ain't going up there either. There are certain things that he reminds us of over and over again in the word. Hey, Shay, over and over in the word that forgiveness is a mandate. Loving your neighbor as yourself, a mandate. Are you your brother's keeper? A mandate. Are you your sister's keeper? A mandate. There are certain things that we must do in order to properly know that this is the way we're heading, and this is the correct path for me to halfway, because the Bible says the righteous shall scarcely make it in. So all of us is trying to get through, and so it behooves us to do everything that we can to make sure we are part of that. What's the difference between healed and whole? I can give you a whole lot of definitions, but being healed, being mended, being in the state of repair, healed meaning forgiveness, healed meaning coming to terms with that which has happened to you and no longer allowing it to control you, but you control it. Being made whole is no signs, no resemblance, what's the residuals? There's nothing hanging around to show that scar ever existed, which is like my bestie's book, Healed Without a Scar. So when you're made whole, a lot of people say, oh, this is my better half. I don't want a better half. I want another whole person. I want somebody who has taken the time to go through their life and try to heal everywhere they're hurting. The Father he'll do that for you if you want it. Just not coming to me with no excess baggage. I don't want to bring you baggage, so don't bring me any. I'm trying to make sure that when that happens, when that day comes for me, that I'm not bringing any unnecessary baggage into something new that's trying to love on me like I should be loved. I don't want to be the reason why I can't receive the kind of love that I want. And it's because I'm not completely whole. And I don't even know what it would take to make me happy, because I have not had the opportunity to do that for myself. It's always been for somebody else. I've extended myself in love for somebody else. So I've helped other people not only receive their healing, but I've also walked them through the steps until they can actually say, I feel like I've been made whole. There's nothing lingering around me. There's nothing that, oh my God, no flashback, none of that. I'm made whole. I'm done. God has done what he needed to do with me concerning that particular thing. And I never have to go to him about it again. Why? Because I learned the lesson that came from it. So when I see it coming, I deal with it head on, so that it doesn't cause me to go backwards, but it helps me to continue to move forward. I don't want no residue. I know that for some people there is. Some people say, if you really been healed or delivered, there'll be no residue. I personally, I don't agree.
What is it?
That when you've been healed, or you saying you've been made whole, that there's no residue. I don't. This is personal. I don't believe that for all people. And then some of us, misjudge. Say this is a family of 8, and 7 out of the 8 children were all females and that one male. What are the chances that nothing in him is going to resemble that? And people assume that that means that that person is in another life or whatever, because you don't know the true family history. And then there are those who were in a life and they have received their healing. Um, can't can't tell you whether they said they feel whole or not. I'm just telling you what. Why are you laughing? What happens? Um, some of them do have, like, you could tell. I could listen to somebody, because that has happened recently. Could listen to somebody and say, "Oh, they used to be in a life," you know. And it's not like it's knocking you off your feet kind of residue, but something there. There's an indicator there that this is not who they've been always. Um, and even in that, they still have room to be made whole. It just needs somebody who's willing to walk with them and not talk about them. It's easy for everybody to talk about, but there's not enough people talking to. And you can't walk somebody out of what you're not willing to do yourself. So that might be their thing. There's other things that happen that leave some type of residue on you. There's something that happens that sparks. Um, it took a long time. And like I said, it took a long time for me to be at a place where I could say, I'm whole. Um, and so what our desire is to make sure that those who are around us don't have to take as long to figure that out, because the reality is you first need somebody on the other side of the fence that's willing to listen to what you're saying, or willing to hear you out and not judge you. That's not the era in which we came up in. The era in which we came up in, you just didn't have, a lot of the things that today's church offers membership. But one thing was, leaders took up for leaders. You couldn't go to somebody else's church and not have that leader call you and let you know that somebody been visiting. I know this one of your members, but I want you to know they've been visiting our church for the last couple of Sundays, and now they're talking about joining. I just need to know. That very few people do that anymore. Just certain things that I experienced coming up in the church that I wish we could go back to. And then there are other things that I'm glad I graduated from, because it was something that sometimes not all things are scriptural, but they'll find something in the Bible that goes along with the point they're trying to make. And so that justifies why they believe we shouldn't do this, why we believe we shouldn't do that. Women shouldn't wear pants. They say women shouldn't wear that of a man's apparel. Well, if the pants were sewn for me, then it's not a man's apparel, because the design and the pattern was specifically for me, the woman. But I do get what they meant when they said we should not, wear that of a man's apparel. And so just as the Bible tells, a woman what she shouldn't do, it lets a man know what he shouldn't be doing. God has a set order, and it shall be followed no matter what. And so because it is my desire to make it into heaven, I'm not trying to figure out whether, Sally Sue ready to get rid of all of this. At this hour, if you ain't ready to live, I'm not going to force you to live. I'm going to give you the opportunity to say, I want to be resuscitated. And if you don't, and no matter what is done, you want to stay right there in that pity party and in that little mess, then I have to go on to somebody who really wants to be delivered. I said many times, I'm not going to die trying to help you live. I'm not willing to do it anymore. I've had too many hospitalizations from trying to get you to a place you really didn't want to come. You were saying it, but you didn't mean it. This is where I say your heart and your mind have to be with one accord, and so that God can move, and then move swiftly. So we're getting ready to get off here, because we've been trying to do good. We're not staying on more than an hour. But as we do every week, we thank God for all of the leaders that have been getting on, and not just getting on, but talking to the people, giving them something to think about. We used to play the devil's advocate, even though it wasn't what we believe. We know that it's somebody out there feeling like this, so we just say it just to see how people are going to respond. But we want to say thank you to the leaders who allowing us to know that you believe in something that we're doing, or you feel like we have something, worth hearing. That doesn't is not taken lightly here. We really appreciate the fact that you come on and feel like you can be transparent with us, or that you can be online with us and hear what we have to say and respond accordingly. So thank you to all of the leaders. Um, yeah, I would have to go all the way up on the streamline to see who it was, but you know who you are. All of the leaders, the names that I remember. Well, we have Pastor Wyatt, we had Pastor Lawrence, we had Overseer Watson, we had Apostle Parsons, we had I'm talking about these leaders, right? To my nephew Rodney, to Daniela, to my cousin Adrian, Apostle Consuela, to all my nieces and nephews out there, to my daughters who came on tonight. Just thank you all. And again, we just ask that as this night continues to go on, even as we sign off, we're going to pray. But we would like for you to continue to call that name out. Melissa, hey, we getting ready to get off, girl. Call out that name tonight. And perhaps you say, well, you know what? I don't even pray like that, or I don't even know what to say. Just say, Lord, help Prophetess Ayana. I promise you, praying for somebody else happens best for you. It speeds up things a little more for you because you're denying yourself and you're doing what is necessary for somebody else. And so we ask that you please call out her name, Prophetess Ayana. It's a hard thing to be young and to be ill and nobody be able to pinpoint what it is, and everybody's got a diagnosis, and this is one medicine one day and then another medicine another day and then stop all the medicine. It's a lot for one individual to go through, and so as a person who lives with pain every day of my life, you just can't appreciate the level of pain if you're not here. If you don't have the diagnoses that both of us had, you just, until you've been here and done that, you wouldn't begin to understand. But what you can do is just say, Lord, heal Prophetess Ayana. She needs it right now. She's not strong enough to ask for it on her own. And so here we are, letting the strong bear the infirmities of the weak. This is us. This is us letting her know that she matters. Some people just need to know that they matter. They'll take it from anywhere. That's why a lot of young people get in trouble, because people other than the church is letting them know that they matter. I'm losing my voice again. So, we're getting ready to get off. Like I said, we're going to continue to pray for Prophetess Ayana. My bestie is going to say her last words, and I'll pray tonight because my bestie needs prayer too. And so she's going to give the closing words.
I want y'all to be encouraged. Just pray for us. That's the most I can say tonight. Good live as always. Get some therapy, get some counseling, find someone that can help you get through those rough patches. And anybody that's on here that's a PK kid, I just want to say to you, you matter tonight.
Be coming for you, PKs. We're going to do a whole night on y'all.
That's the most that I can say
on us. All right. So we thank God for my bestie at all times, who constantly pushes me to make sure that I'm consistent with this, because the one week you talk about not doing it might be the very week that somebody comes on and really needed, an ear, or really needed to know that somebody else was going through and they weren't the only one going through that particular thing that they're facing. And so we are just mindful for that, because we've kept it this long and God has done. I know my bestie wants me to get some rest, and she wants me to, start taking time for me. And, so I was struggling with trying to do it every other week, and I ain't make it yet. But we're going to get there. We have to do what's wise. But again, you never know when this is the night, that person needed. Pastor Rogers, how are you? And so we're getting ready to end for tonight. So God, we thank you and we honor you and we praise you. God, we thank you for every leader that came on tonight. Oh God, Thank you for their words of wisdom, for their participation in the conversation. God, we thank you for those who are here, the laity. There's still other laity that's on here, still other ministers in the gospel on here, prophets and evangelists and missionaries were on here tonight. And God, only you can minister to them as you can. God, I thought I was healed until. And that gives us a lot to think about, because many of us can have that testimony that I really thought I was over a thing until I saw this person or until I heard this thing. And so, God, we ask that you would be with us, that you would guide us, that you would continue to cover us. Now, Prophetess Ayana, your servant, your woman servant who dances for others, your woman servant who dreams dreams and she gives warnings and she prays for the people constantly, even in her pain. God, now we need your attention toward her. We need an end suddenly. God, Prophetess Ayana is getting weak and she's getting weary. Help us to be her strength. Help us to be her joy, oh God. Help her to know that there is definitely healing after this. There's a glory that's coming along with what she's going through. There's a glory that's coming along because of how she endured. And God, we want you to let her know in a still small voice, even as she rests on tonight. God, let her know that you're there. Let her know that you're carrying her. And God, we thank you in advance for what you shall done. And we ask it in the name of your Son, Jesus the Christ. And we say amen. So don't forget her, guys. Please, please, please pray for her. For those of you who came on late, feel free to go back and review the live. This was a good live tonight, and we appreciate God for your life. Those of you who have our page, follow our page. This weekend is my birthday services. And I'll be turning the good 6-2. And so we're going to be in service all weekend long. The flyers up on my page. Amen. And we're just going to love on those who love on us. Amen. In Jesus' name. Be blessed and have a great night and the remaining week.